And welcome. We're here for another game of the Sega Genesis version of Clue. We just played one, lost, but we're pretty close to the answer by the time we got around to the end. Now we're ready to start up again with a fresh clue sheet and hopefully a better result. So as always, detective difficulty, 6 players, and we of course, as Professor Plum. And we'll check our cards here. Peacock, dining room, library. Very close to what we had last time. We had Peacock. A lead pipe and library this time. Add the dining room in. Let's see here. And we're off. Again, as always, in the early portion of the game, being that neither of the corners have a elimination, we don't really care about where we are. We're going to be largely avoiding guessing our character that we have eliminated in Mrs. Peacock. We are going to do a fair bit of guessing about Professor Plum, though. To try to put us in a position where we're not getting dragged around later in the game when it might be a situation that we're just all aware of who the murderer is and just trying to track them down from room to room. We want to, eliminate ourselves from that discussion early. So Colonel Mustard's going to be the first to get into a room and is going to guess in the lounge that it was Mrs. White with the knife. Again, if you're following along, you can watch the clue sheet on the right-hand panel there, as it will update live as I make my markings. If you're in the chat live, you can always put in your suggestions, and I'm happy to kind of track along with you as we come to the answers. Mrs. White was not in the lounge. If you're watching the YouTube VOD, be sure to catch us live. We're going to be live 3 times a week. It's going to be Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday. That schedule is going to be updated on the Twitch channel here shortly. Just some pieces still coming into place as far as timing goes. But we'll, again, be live 3 times a week. Then with occasional late night streams that will be randomly popping up. So I would recommend to follow us on the Twitch page so you get notifications when we are on live. Because my work schedule dictates that sometimes I'm up late at night. I'm always up late at night. And sometimes when I'm done, I'll feel like a game or two and might hop on stream to play them. So let's see here. So it's Mrs. Peacock's going to be the next to get into a room. Going to guess us. So now we're in the conservatory. So we're going to be in the conservatory lounge back and forth. And we're happy to stay there. Neither of those rooms is eliminated. And, so we have no preference about where to be. The wrench was not in the conservatory. So that on the sheet. And it's going to be our turn next, I believe. Yeah. And we're going to just stay in the conservatory because why not? And in there, we can guess anything we want but the wrench. We're going to guess ourselves with the knife. We would like to see that we do not have the knife. That's our preferred clue. we find out we're not in the conservatory, which is a kind of a limiter here, because likely for the first 5 turns or so, we're going to spend our time going back and forth from the lounge to the conservatory unless we get pulled to another room, guessing. And likely, even if we got pulled, it would be to those rooms that are closely adjacent to both the lounge and the conservatory. So it would be dining room and ballroom as the other likely possibilities. So Mrs. Peacock was not in the lounge. So now we're down to green, mustard, and plum is in the lounge already. So making some quick deductions here, but not getting a single clue on the top port of the board. Mustard rolls for the dining room, doesn't make it. White takes her turn. She's going to roll also. But she's blocked from getting into the dining room. Heads sort of towards the hall. Doesn't get as far as maybe she would have liked to. We've been pulled into the ballroom, which is fine. And it's us with the wrench is the suggestion made for the ballroom. Plum was not in the ballroom. The unfortunate piece about this is now we have been eliminated from 2 of the rooms that we're going to be spending a fair bit of time in, which is going to limit our ability to get those sort of the top part of the clue sheet, the portion that we notate the relationships between people and weapons. It's going to limit our ability to make those sorts of notations the way we might like to, which is not ideal, but we'll have to deal with it. The rope was not in the lounge is going to be our next clue. So we'll go ahead and mark that on our sheet. We're getting almost all of our clues, actually, not almost, all of our clues so far have been on the bottom part of our sheet. For the first 7 or so guesses, they're all down bottom. Ballroom, we can't say ourselves. So we'll go with green and the candlestick. And another clue about a room. Candlestick was not in the ballroom. So go ahead and make that elimination on our sheet and keep going. End our turn. Scarlet rolls gets nowhere. Mustard rolls makes the dining room now and guesses us. We would like ourselves very much so to not be eliminated from the dining room, because we're running out of places where we can ask about us, and we like to ask about ourselves early in the game. The rope was not in the dining room. That's just fine. The dining room is actually a room that we would not mind finding ourselves to be in, because then we could eliminate ourselves very early in the game, as we have the dining room card. Scarlet with the lead pipe is the next guess. I believe this is Mrs. White's turn now. The lead pipe was not in the dining room. So now it's Green's turn. He's in the ballroom, has to roll though. Had already made his guess there last turn. Peacock rolls out of the lounge, doesn't go back to the conservatory. There's 2. We are in the dining room and can guess there, and we are going to guess about ourselves. So we are going to say it was us, and we did it with the gun, the revolver. So Plum, revolver, dining room. Tell us Professor Plum was in the dining room, please. Tells us the revolver was not in the dining room. Now, something we do need to take care with here in the dining room, and is part of our reason for guessing ourselves, is we don't want to give away our cards too early in the game. So we've now eliminated half of the weapons from the dining room. So we're getting to the point where we're kind of limiting things, and we don't want to limit them too much because we want our opponents to be spending their time guessing about things that we already know are false. That eliminates the knife from the dining room. Now we're down to just 2 weapons. So we truly, now at this point, we don't even want to be in the dining room anymore. We've seen enough. If a computer manages to get a positive clue in there, so be it. We do not want to be the one that continues to make guesses, as we could deliver an elimination to one of those computers, which we don't want to do. You know, we want them to have to do the work, and not for us to basically put our cards on the table. Because if we help them in finding out, say there's no weapon in the dining room, that reveals our card of the dining room to everyone in a sense. The revolver was not in the conservatory as our next elimination. Mr. Green's turn ends there and moves to Mrs. Peacock. We would like her to guess us, please. But she's in the conservatory, so that's unlikely, and it does not happen. So mustard with the rope is the next guess. And we continue to only have room clues. Wow. Mustard was not in the conservatory. So the reason I'm kind of griping about not having any of the room clues so far is it makes it very, very difficult for us to make later deductions when we have no room clues. Only roll a 2 here. Puts us big time in no man's land, but so be it. We're going to go straight down just in case we get a big roll next time and decide to make a 3-turn move for the kitchen. We're not going back to the dining room, though. We would rather take a turn without a guess than go to the dining room, because we would be giving too much information to the other players if we did. Miss Peacock was not in the conservatory. So now we're down to green, scarlet, and white in the conservatory. And the trend continues. We still don't have a single elimination for part of the page, which is it's really incredible. Now, usually you see a fair number of those, and they help you make some deductions as the game goes on, but not today, I suppose. And we get our first positive clue, quite early, in fact. And that is that the candlestick is located in the dining room. So the candlestick is there. We pull out our highlighter for that. We delete the candlestick from every other room, because there's only one candlestick in the house. We know where it is. And because of our cards, we know the candlestick is now an elimination. And we know no one who was in the dining room. So we can make no top-end eliminations still. One thing I will say is now, by virtue of there being a positive clue in the dining room that is of some usefulness to us, we're not as opposed to going back there. But we roll a 1, which means we're not going to get to the dining room and we're not going to get to the ballroom. We're going to continue heading south, though, towards the ballroom. Asks green with the wrench in the dining room. Don't tell us the wrench isn't there, because we already know this. Of course it does. So this game version is basically set up to give you a negative clue whenever possible. And so because of the fact that that was an easy scenario in which to give us a negative clue, it of course does. All right, so now we're left green, lead pipe, ballroom. What do we got here? The lead pipe was not in the ballroom. Go to the ballroom, scratch off lead pipe, and be continued to be amazed that we do not have a single deduction yet for this whole top portion of our sheet. It hasn't told us a single thing about any relationship between weapon and person, which makes for a longer game because it reduces the number of deductions that you can make. Oh, finally, we've gotten one. Mr. Green did not have the knife, so we get our first useful clue on the top portion of the game. Where did it? Okay, in the ballroom. Peacock's turn. Goes to the billiard room. Guess us. Hey, we get pulled into the billiard room. She suggests it's us with the rope. The rope was not in the... So we're going to continue our trend of wanting to guess about ourselves when an option. So we are in the billiard room. We're going to guess us. We cannot guess rope or candlestick, so we will go with knife. So plum, knife, billiard room. And we continue to get room clues only. Professor Plum was not in the billiard room. So if we are the murderer, we are only the murderer in one of 4 rooms now. Hall, lounge, kitchen, and study. Nobody is the murderer in the dining room because of our card. Nobody is the murderer in the library because of our card. And we have ourselves eliminated from ballroom, billiard room, and conservatory. Okay, white rope. Let's see what we have here. Another positive clue. These kind of positives are kind of inevitable at this point because of how many lower board clues we have. My best highlighter work there. Let's see. So white is in the green now for us. We can eliminate white from every other room. Also, by virtue of white being in the conservatory, we can eliminate her from having the candlestick. We can eliminate her from having the revolver. We can eliminate her from having, because all of those weapons have been eliminated from existing in the conservatory. We can also eliminate green and a scarlet from the conservatory, because there can be a person in a room. Computer suggests scarlet with the lead pipe in the conservatory. It's just probably going to give us a useless clue here. And as predicted. Okay. Green rolls in the ballroom. Can't get anywhere. Peacock rolls from the billiard room. Also can't get anywhere and is going to block us. So now we need a 6 to make a guess this turn, and we get a 4. We're going to roll simply a 3, and we are going to end our turn there. Because we kind of don't want to get too far from the billiard room or the ballroom, so that puts us right in the middle. Green with the rope in the conservatory is the next guess, which is, we know, bad, but so be it. Tell us the rope's not there. It tells us green is not there. Scarlet Revolver Ballroom is the next guess. Ms. Scarlet was not in the ballroom. White's turn, she rolls. Only gets a 1, so blocks green into the conservatory. He must either guess there or go to the lounge. He goes to the lounge and says it's mustard with the wrench. And we get a top clue. Mustard did not have the wrench. So now we've got our second true clue for the top. Peacock rolling now. Goes back into the billiards room. Guesses Scarlet with the wrench. The wrench was not in the billiard room. Okay. Sheet. Peacock takes her turn, and now it's ours. Oh, let me roll a 1. And I don't even know if there's one of these rooms that we would rather be in. Oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're both equally deducted. I'm going to go to the ballroom simply because it gives us more, towards the ballroom, simply because it gives us more options of where to go. Peacock, knife, billiard. Knife was not in the billiard. So now we're down to only lead pipe and revolver in the billiard room. So not knowing that guess was coming and not knowing it was going to give us a pretty advantageous clue, that we've made the correct choice to go away from the billiard room because now it's fairly limited and we don't want to do any more limiting there if we can avoid it. The rope was not in the conservatory. Okay, so we eliminate the rope from the conservatory. We eliminate Mrs. White as having the rope. So that leaves her with 2 weapons, knife or lead pipe. Mrs. White going to make a guess in the conservatory. She is going to say herself with the knife. Gives us a clue that we've already had. So no help there. Green rolls from the lounge and only gets a 1. Peacock is in the billiard room, needs to roll. Gets a 5, so can make the library. We would like to not be pulled there, and she immediately does so. The wrench was not in the library. The reason I kind of don't want to be pulled there is because of it takes us away from one of our open options. So what can we do here? So there's a lot of open options for both knife and lead pipe. Knife and lead pipe, the 2 we're interested in because those are the last things that Mrs. White could have. So let's guess about 1 here. Let's say ourselves with the knife, because this could kill 2 birds with 1 stone. We find out we have the knife, that's helpful. If we find out the knife or ourselves is in the library, that's helpful. And we instead just find out another negative on ourselves. So we were not in the library. So that further limits our capabilities in terms of logic. We still have the same number of possibilities as a murderer, but fewer logic options. Peacock with a knife in the library. Good. We would like Mrs. Peacock to have the knife, but it's going to tell us about the library. The knife was not there. Now, the level of bottom clues that we're getting here is making it very difficult to make eliminations remotely. You could say lead pipe, but no, you can't. Oh, no, he wouldn't have logically been able to say that because we have lead pipe stricken from the ballroom. And once he guessed Mr. Green, knife no longer made sense. And another positive clue. So Green was in the ballroom. So that means, okay, so we need to combine two sets of clues. We know Green did not have the knife, and we know the candlestick and the lead pipe were not in the ballroom. So Green cannot have either one. And then Green is eliminated from every other. He can only place at one time. The issue that we're going to now have is with all of these positive clues, we're not able to eliminate some things the way we would like to beforehand. So we're going to be having to guess a lot of things and probably have a willingness that if we put a string together, that either we have to hope it makes it back to us, or that we're simply going to have to accuse and understand that that's running the risk of losing the game, which is kind of how the boat's floating us right now. So Colonel Mustard was not in the ballroom. We did not mark, but we already knew because only one person can be in a room. Green loses his mind and suggests Peacock with the knife. I would like the game to lose its mind and tell us Peacock has the knife. It does not. Peacock makes a guess in the ballroom and is going to say, also be confused and say Peacock with the wrench. Like Miss Peacock to have the wrench. It's going to tell us about the ballroom instead. And probably going to tell us Mrs. Peacock's not there. It does. Which is, since we were paying attention, making good notes, a useless clue for us. So now we're in the library. What do we want to do here? We need to roll. It's too soon to make an interrogation. We have too much incomplete information. We kind of want to get to one of these corner rooms, though. So we're going to come out of the library that way. Head to the hall first, and then over to the study. Mustard rolls and blocks the conservatory from everybody, which is good. Because we don't want a computer to trip over a positive answer in there. We would like to find out some sort of narrowing information about Miss White from a distance, if possible. Back to our turn, we roll a 5. We make the hall. We're going to guess us with the lead pipe. And we're going to find that we did not have it. Okay. Not a lot of helpfulness there, but Yeah, and it's always helpful to have some of those top clues because it starts to narrow down possibilities in the late game. But we're kind of in the late game in some ways, as we have 3 two-leg possibilities going on. Mustard didn't have the lead pipe. So this leaves Scarlet and White as the only people left who could have committed murder with the lead pipe. And they're going to ask about Scarlet. Wow. Okay. So now Scarlet is eliminated as having everything but the lead pipe and the by virtue of the clues that we've already got from the billiard room. I'm looking down here and seeing all these eliminations to come up with that. Scarlet is thereby eliminated from every other room. Does that make any room eliminations for us? It does not. There's a lot of pressure on the library, but we already have the library eliminated, so we don't want to exert much more. There's a lot of pressure on the lounge, but I'm not convinced that, I mean, the way this game's going, I'm not convinced that trying to eliminate the lounge is the best spent on our time. I think we are better served by trying to limit Mrs. White. Okay, now we've been pulled to the dining room. Professor Plum did not have the candlestick is the illustration we get from. Cross that off our list. Let's see. So we cross that off our list. Let's see what's next. Our next is green did not have the revolver. So that's crossed off there. So that leaves green with simply the rope and the wrench. There is limited pressure on both items, so it's not more pressure on green by that than there is on either of those weapons. We are in the dining room. What do we want to do? Do we want to try to eliminate one of these characters? Okay, hold on. By virtue of us not having a candlestick, we're going to ask about mustard here. So we're going to say mustard with the candlestick, and we would like this to be true. Okay, it is not. So that leaves Peacock as the only person with the candlestick left. That is not a helpful piece of information for us to get positively confirmed for any reason. Because we would prefer Mrs. Peacock to have a different weapon because we have her card and we can eliminate her that way. Because otherwise we would have a double negative situation, which is not good when you're playing Clue. Scarlet rolls and makes it nowhere, blocks the library. Mustard's in the dining room is probably going to make the last logical guess here. Does not. He instead guesses us with the revolver. I mean, there's nothing good to learn here. And we already knew that. by virtue of us not having the candlestick. We made that elimination ourselves. White blocks the lounge side door. Green rolls towards the conservatory. Peacock goes back to the ballroom and guesses Mr. Green with the wrench. Ballroom, which we should have. Green had the wrench. Okay, so Green having the wrench, that doesn't do any eliminating for any of the other possibilities that we have open. It does cross off the rope for Green and the rope in the ballroom. It does mark the wrench out of a couple of rooms here. Does it do any other work? It does not. Mustard could still have the knife in the revolver. Peacock isn't the murderer. Plum could still have the knife in there. Yeah, so the hall is under a bit of pressure. The library is eliminated by virtue of our card. The lounge is under the same pressure as the hall, effectively, with one less possibility. It's the ropes ignored. But we can cross off none of these other rooms. We're going to need to make an interrogation, I believe, with our turn. And we're going to say green, wrench, ballroom. Need to actually do a little work too, just to keep our sheet in order. We've won the game. So we'll go ahead and just highlight that we have found correct answer was green with the wrench in the ballroom. We got some luck there. We were certainly a ways away if we would have had to keep making deductions because of the number of sort of background deductions we were unable to make. But we got to the right answer, which is the point of the game. So the ballroom was filled with the echoes of parties long since dead. Mr. Green waited with anticipation. He deftly hefted the wrench. He was tired of being messed with. So there it is. Nice victory for us there, managing to get the correct answer of Green Wrench Ballroom. Appreciate everyone for watching it as always. And we will catch you on the next episode.